She sat in that office for 11 minutes. She had timed it, not intentionally, but because the clock on the wall was the only thing that didn't make her feel like she was losing her mind. 11 minutes to describe what had taken over her entire life. 14 symptoms, written neatly on a piece of paper she had folded and unfolded so many times the creases had turned soft. She handed it to the man sitting across from her, and he barely looked at it. He nodded twice, wrote one word on her chart, and slid a prescription across the desk. Anxiety. That was his answer. One word to explain the insomnia that had stolen her nights for 8 months. One word to explain the rage that rose from nowhere and left her shaking. One word to explain the heart palpitations, the brain fog, the joint pain, the weight that appeared on her body, as if someone had changed the rules overnight. Anxiety, and a little white pill to make it all go away. But it didn't go away, because it was never anxiety. I have seen this story more times than I can count. Not the same woman, but the same silence, the same confusion, the same quiet devastation of being told that what you're feeling isn't real, or worse, that it's all in your head. And every single time, it breaks something inside the person sitting across from me. Not because the diagnosis was wrong, though it was, but because in that moment, she stopped trusting herself. She started to wonder if maybe she really was falling apart. Maybe the tears at 3 a.m. were weakness. Maybe the fog that made her forget words mid-sentence was early dementia. Maybe the fact that her heart raced for no reason meant something was deeply, terribly wrong with her. And the truth, the one that no one told her, is that her body was doing exactly what it was designed to do. It was changing, not breaking. Changing. Every single symptom had a biological explanation. Every sleepless night, every flash of rage, every moment of confusion, her body was sending signals clear and loud, and the world around her simply didn't have the vocabulary to translate them. This is what perimenopause looks like when nobody explains it to you. It looks like 14 symptoms on a piece of paper that gets dismissed in 11 minutes. It looks like years of suffering with a label that doesn't fit. It looks like a woman sitting in her car in the parking lot after the appointment, staring at a prescription she didn't ask for, feeling more lost than when she walked in. And it looks like millions of women around the world right now, sitting in waiting rooms, Googling their symptoms at 2 a.m, wondering why they feel like strangers inside their own skin. Women who were capable, confident, and strong, now questioning everything they thought they knew about themselves. Let me tell you what that piece of paper really said, because I've read hundreds of versions of it over the years, and they all tell the same story. The insomnia usually comes first, not the kind where you can't fall asleep, though that happens too. It's the kind where you wake up at 3 or 4 in the morning, wide awake, heart pounding, drenched in sweat, and your mind is already running, already anxious, already listing every fear you've ever had. You lie there in the dark, and you feel completely alone. Your partner is asleep, the house is quiet, and your body is screaming, but nobody can hear it. This isn't a sleep disorder. This is what happens when estrogen, the hormone that has been quietly regulating your sleep architecture for decades, begins to fluctuate wildly. Estrogen helps modulate serotonin and gamma-aminobutyric acid, the neurotransmitters that calm the brain and guide it into deep, restorative sleep. When estrogen drops unpredictably, those systems destabilize. You don't just lose sleep. You lose the ability to feel rested, safe, and still. Then comes the fog. Women describe it differently, but the feeling is the same. You walk into a room and forget why. You search for a word you've used 1,000 times, and it's simply gone. You read the same paragraph 4 times and absorb nothing. One woman told me she sat in a meeting she had organized, staring at a presentation she had built, and couldn't remember a single point she was supposed to make. She excused herself, went to the bathroom, and cried. She was 43. She thought she was developing Alzheimer's. She wasn't. Her brain was responding to the loss of estrogen, which plays a critical role in synaptic plasticity, memory consolidation, and cerebral blood flow. Studies from the University of Rochester and Harvard's Brigham and Women's Hospital have shown that cognitive function shifts during the menopausal transition are real, measurable, and, this is the part that matters, typically temporary. The brain adapts, but nobody told her that. Nobody told her she wasn't broken. The heart palpitations terrified her the most. She went to the emergency room twice. The first time, she genuinely believed she was having a heart attack. Her left arm tingled. Her chest felt tight. She told the nurse she was 44 and healthy and that she didn't understand what was happening. Both times, the EKG came back normal. Both times, she was told it was probably stress. They gave her a pamphlet on relaxation techniques and sent her home. But the feeling of her heart fluttering, skipping, racing without warning, it didn't feel like stress. It felt like dying. And the fear that came with it created a loop she couldn't escape. Palpitation, fear. More palpitations, more fear. She stopped drinking coffee, she stopped exercising, she started avoiding anything that might trigger the sensation, and her world became smaller with each passing week. What she didn't know, what almost no one tells women, is that estrogen has a direct effect on the autonomic nervous system and on the smooth muscle of blood vessels. As estrogen fluctuates, the cardiovascular system becomes more reactive. The heart responds to hormonal surges the way it would respond to adrenaline. Research from the European Heart Journal has documented that perimenopausal women report palpitations at nearly 3 times the rate of premenopausal women. And yet, this symptom is rarely connected to hormonal change in clinical settings. It's not dangerous in most cases, but it is terrifying when you don't understand what's happening. And it is isolating when no one validates what you feel. And then there was the rage. She didn't recognize herself anymore. Small things, a spilled glass of water, a comment from her teenager, a slow driver in traffic, would ignite something inside her that felt volcanic, disproportionate, uncontrollable. She would scream, then cry, then feel a shame so deep she couldn't look at her own family. She told me she once locked herself in the car in the garage and sat there for 45 minutes because she was afraid of what she might say if she walked back inside. This was not a personality flaw. This was not a mental health crisis, though it felt like one. This was the neurochemical consequence of hormonal instability. Progesterone, the calming hormone, the one that soothes the nervous system, was plummeting. And without it, her brain had no buffer between stimulus and reaction. Every emotion hit her at full volume, with no filter, no cushion, no pause. She also noticed her body changing in ways that felt punishing. Weight gathering around her midsection despite eating less, despite eating better than she had in years. She counted calories, cut sugar, walked every morning, and the scale didn't move, or it moved in the wrong direction. This wasn't about willpower. Declining estrogen triggers a shift in fat storage patterns, redirecting adipose tissue to the abdomen, a process driven by changes in insulin sensitivity and cortisol regulation. Her metabolism wasn't slow. It had been reprogrammed. Joint pain in her fingers when she woke up, so stiff some mornings she couldn't close her hand around a coffee mug. Skin that had become dry and thin, bruising easily where it never had before. Hair that was falling out in the shower in quantities that made her afraid to wash it. She would stand there watching it collect in the drain and feel a grief she couldn't name. Digestive issues that seemed to appear from nowhere. Bloating so severe she looked pregnant by evening, nausea, a sensitivity to foods she had eaten her entire life without a single problem. Each of these symptoms, taken alone, seems minor, manageable, the kind of thing you push through. But stacked together, day after day, month after month, they create a wall of suffering that slowly, quietly isolates a woman from her own life. She starts canceling plans. She stops exercising because her body hurts and the results never come anyway. She withdraws from intimacy, not just physically, but emotionally, because she doesn't feel like herself. And how can you be close to someone when you don't even recognize the person you've become? She smiles less. She apologizes more for her mood, for her forgetfulness, for the tears she can't explain, for the outbursts she can't control. Her children notice. Her partner notices. And somewhere along the way, she begins to believe the narrative that was handed to her in that 11-minute appointment, that she's anxious, that she needs medication, that she is the problem. But she is not the problem. The problem is a system that was never built to listen to her. Here is what I want you to understand. And I say this with the weight of years of working with women in exactly this position. Perimenopause is not a single event. It is a transition that can last anywhere from 4 to 10 years. It typically begins in a woman's early to mid-40s, though it can start as early as the late 30s. During this time, the ovaries don't simply stop producing hormones, they become erratic. Estrogen can spike to levels higher than at any point in a woman's life, then crash within days. Progesterone declines steadily. Testosterone shifts. The hormonal environment becomes unpredictable. And because these hormones influence virtually every system in the body, the brain, the heart, the gut, the bones, the skin, the immune system, the symptoms are widespread, varied, and deeply confusing. There are more than 40 recognized symptoms of perimenopause. 40, not 5, not 10, 40. And yet, a study published in the Journal of Women's Health found that only 1 in 5 women felt they had been adequately informed about menopause before they began experiencing it. Most learned about it from the internet, from friends, or from their own suffering, not from the professionals they trusted with their health. This is not acceptable. And it is changing, slowly, painfully slowly, but it is changing. Research institutions around the world are now dedicating real resources to understanding the menopausal transition. The Women's Health Initiative, the SWAN study, newer investigations at institutions like Mayo Clinic and King's College London, they are building a body of knowledge that is finally giving women the language to understand what is happening inside their bodies. And the findings are consistent. Perimenopause is a significant neurological, cardiovascular, metabolic, and psychological event. It is not a phase to be endured. It is a biological transformation that deserves recognition, support, and proper care. If any of what I've described sounds familiar, if you've been searching for answers and finding only confusion, I want you to know there is something that has been helping many of the women I work with. It's not a magic fix, and I would never present it that way. But it's a path that addresses what's actually happening in your body, not just masking the symptoms. I've left it for you in the first link in the description, and I genuinely believe it could change how you experience this transition. Now, let me talk about something that doesn't get discussed enough, the emotional cost of being misdiagnosed during perimenopause. Because it isn't just about the wrong label on a chart. It's about what that label does to a woman's relationship with herself. When you are told your symptoms are anxiety, you internalize a story. The story says, you are weak, you can't handle stress. Other women your age are fine. What's wrong with you? You start performing wellness for the people around you. You smile when you're drowning. You push through days that feel impossible because admitting you're struggling feels like failure. And the antidepressant, the one that was supposed to help, sometimes it takes the edge off, sometimes it doesn't. But either way, it doesn't address the root. It's like putting tape over the warning light on your dashboard. The engine is still overheating. I have seen women spend 3, 4, 5 years on medications that were never designed for what they were experiencing. SSR is for hormonal mood shifts. Benzodiazepines for sleep that was disrupted by hot flashes they didn't even know they were having. Internal temperature surges that happen during sleep, invisible to everything except the sweat on the sheets and the pounding in the chest. Thyroid medication for fatigue that had nothing to do with the thyroid. Round after round of testing, specialist after specialist, bill after bill, and the answer was there the entire time, written in the pattern of symptoms that no one stepped back far enough to see. The pattern, that's the key. Any one of these symptoms can belong to a dozen conditions. But when a woman in her 40s presents with disrupted sleep, cognitive changes, mood instability, palpitations, joint pain, weight redistribution, changes in her menstrual cycle, and a feeling that she has become someone she doesn't recognize, the pattern is unmistakable. It's perimenopause. And the fact that so many professionals still miss it isn't because the evidence is hidden. it's because they were never trained to look for it. Medical education around menopause remains shockingly insufficient. A survey published in Menopause, the Journal of the North American Menopause Society, found that the average medical training program in the United States dedicates fewer than 5 hours total to menopause education. 5 hours. For a transition that affects half the world's population and influences virtually every organ system. Residents graduate without knowing how to identify perimenopause. They don't learn about the cognitive impact. They don't learn about the cardiovascular implications. They learn almost nothing about the lived experience of hormonal transition. And so, when a woman walks in with 14 symptoms on a folded piece of paper, they see anxiety because that's the only frame they were given. But you are not a frame. You are not a label. You are a woman standing in the middle of the most significant hormonal shift of her adult life, and you deserve to be seen fully, accurately, and with the complexity you carry. Let me tell you what happens when a woman finally gets the right information. I've witnessed it hundreds of times, and it never stops being powerful. There's a moment, a very specific moment, where everything clicks. The fog lifts. Not the brain fog, not yet, but the fog of confusion, the fog of self-doubt. She reads about perimenopause, or she hears someone describe exactly what she's been feeling, and her entire body reacts. Her hands shake. Her eyes fill. She cries, but for the first time, they're tears of relief, not despair. She says, "That's me. That's exactly what's been happening to me." And in that single moment, she takes back something that was stolen from her in that 11-minute appointment, her trust in her own body. I have seen this moment happen in my office, and I have heard about it happening while women watched videos like this one, or read an article at midnight, or overheard a conversation that finally gave language to their suffering. It is always transformative. That recognition is not a cure, but it is the foundation for everything that comes after. Once a woman understands that her symptoms have a physiological cause, that they are not random, not imagined, not evidence of personal failure, she can begin to make informed decisions. She can explore hormonal support if appropriate. She can adjust her nutrition to support estrogen metabolism and reduce inflammation. She can rethink her movement, favoring strength training and stress-adaptive exercise over cardio that depletes an already overtaxed system. She can restructure her sleep environment. She can seek out professionals who specialize in this transition and who will listen to her with the attention she deserves. She can build a protocol that works with her body instead of against it. And for the first time in months or years, she can stop fighting herself. And the research supports this. A landmark study in The Lancet demonstrated that women who received proper education and targeted intervention during the menopausal transition reported significantly better outcomes, not just physically, but emotionally and psychologically. Their relationships improved, their work performance stabilized, their sense of self returned. The anxiety that had been diagnosed, the one that was never really anxiety, it faded, not because of a pill, but because the root cause was finally addressed. Knowledge in this context is not just power, it is medicine. If you are in this transition right now, or if you suspect you might be, I have put something together that could genuinely help you navigate what comes next. It's waiting for you in the pinned comment below this video, and it was built specifically for women who are tired of being told it's all in their head. Take a look. You may find it's exactly what you've been searching for. I want to end with something I often say to the women who sit across from me, the ones who come in carrying months or years of confusion, exhaustion, and self-doubt. I tell them this: you are not broken. You were never broken. You were just never given the right map for the territory you entered. Your body didn't fail you. The information around you did. The symptoms you carry are not evidence of weakness. They are evidence of a body in transformation, doing exactly what biology designed it to do. And the fact that you're here, still searching, still listening, still fighting to understand, that tells me everything I need to know about who you are. This transition will not define you, but the way you move through it, with knowledge, with intention, with the kind of fierce self-compassion that comes from finally understanding the truth, that will reshape everything. If this reached you today, if something in these words felt like it was spoken directly to you, then do one thing before you go. Subscribe to this channel, because this is not the last conversation we're going to have. There is so much more I want to share with you about your hormones, your brain, your body, your power. Hit the notification bell so you don't miss what's coming next. And leave a comment below. Tell me your story, tell me your symptom, tell me the moment you realized something wasn't right. Because every time a woman speaks her truth, she makes it easier for the next one to find hers. You are not alone in this, you never were, and now you don't have to be.